Abandoned during childbirth, she discovered an unexpected love from his secret business partner. Sarah stood in the hospital, cradling her newborn son, Ethan, in a weary embrace. The joy was eclipsed by the bitter sting of abandonment. The man she thought loved her had vanished like a dark cloud. Alone with tears stinging her eyes, she felt the weight of the world pressing down. Her grandmother's unwavering support had been a lifeline, but now it felt stretched thin against mounting bills and the echoes of betrayal. As the sterile smell of the hospital lingered, she whispered promises to Ethan, swearing to be the mother he deserved. Returning to their small town nestled in the heart of the Midwest wasn't easy. Each familiar face brought warmth but also reminders of her isolation. Sarah's once bright optimism dimmed under the shadows of hardship, but she refused to falter. She found solace in the small diner where her grandmother used to work, a place that welcomed laughter and love, even in the toughest times. Seeing the help wanted sign felt like destiny, not just a job, but a chance to rebuild. Tom, the diner's owner, always greeted her with a smile that felt like hope. His rugged hands shaped burgers with a grace only a veteran could master. Sarah felt light when he chatted away about stories of their town, bringing a much-needed reprieve. But as the grease-stained walls surrounded her, the aroma of coffee became both a comfort and a challenge. Life was demanding and she was ready to tackle it. Then came Jack. Mysterious and handsome, he walked into the diner like a fresh breeze on a hot summer day. The way he interacted with customers was magnetic. His charm was undeniable. Their eyes met often, igniting something deep down inside Sarah. She tried to push her feelings away. The last thing she needed was another heartbreak. But their stolen glances and shared laughter defied what she knew to be safe. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as Sarah began to hope for a future beyond her struggles, the town was struck by a devastating storm. The skies opened and chaos reigned. Families were left shattered. Lives turned upside down. In the thick of the storm's aftermath, they banded together, united by sorrow. But as the community grappled with loss, Sarah's heart twisted in conflicting directions. The whispers about Jack grew louder, secrets about his privileged life layered against the backdrop of her simple beginnings. Facing a shattered town and her own emotional turmoil, Sarah questioned her path. Should she pursue the budding love with Jack, despite the risk, or cling to family loyalty that had been her anchor? Each choice felt like a heavy burden in a world yearning for healing. The storm not only ravaged homes but laid bare the fractures within her own life, leaving her stranded in the middle of a tumultuous tempest. Torn between two worlds, Sarah felt the tension rising deep within as she stood at a painful crossroads, the echoes of hardship calling her back to what she knew best. What path would she choose? Would her heart lead her toward a future wrapped in uncertainty, or keep her grounded in the values she'd held so dear? The choice loomed, heavy and unresolved, keeping the reader anxious to discover what comes next. Sarah stepped outside the diner, the remnants of the storm still clinging to the air like a shroud. The sun struggled to peek through the last of the gray clouds, casting a muted light on the crumbled sidewalks and debris scattered around the town. Each step felt heavy, weighted by decisions that twisted like the branches of the trees around her. Ethan, nestled against her chest, shifted slightly, reminding her of the innocence and hope still alive within her. With her heart racing, she thought of Jack. Just the memory of his laughter and the way he listened made her cheeks warm. He was there, amidst the chaos, offering comfort when she needed it most. But he was also a reminder of the sharp edge of the life she had left behind, a life filled with expectations and ghosts of wealth that could suffocate her spirit. Could she trust her heart again? The wind picked up, tossing her hair around her face. She stilled, inhaling deeply, trying to catch her breath against the rush of her thoughts. "What do you think, Ethan?" she murmured. "Is it time to take a risk?" As if in response, Ethan cooed softly, his tiny hands flexing and curling around her finger. It was then she resolved to evaluate her options. Climbing into her own skin, She felt ready to confront whatever lay ahead. Later that afternoon, Sarah found herself back at the diner. The familiar sounds of clinking dishes and friendly banter filled her heart with warmth. Tom glanced over, giving her an encouraging nod as she approached the counter. But her focus was on Jack, who stood at the far end of the diner, chatting with a group of friends. His laughter rose above the din, and just like that, Sarah's heart quickened at the sight. "Hey Sarah," he called out, spotting her. "How's everything going with the little guy?" There was a genuine interest in his voice that sent a flutter through her. "Growing fast. Must want to keep up with all the chaos." She laughed, trying to keep it light, but the weight of her feelings pressed against her chest. As he came closer, she caught the faint scent of pine and warmth. "You know you were a true hero during the storm," he said quietly, his eyes searching hers. "I saw how hard you worked to keep everyone calm. It really impressed me." "Thanks, Jack. I just did what any of us would do," she responded, feeling an unfamiliar thrill at his compliment. "No, really. Not everyone stepped up. You did." His gaze locked onto hers with an intensity that sent a rush through her veins. The moment hung heavy in the air, and Sarah suddenly felt vulnerable. "Maybe I'm finally finding my way back," she confessed. "I think you're stronger than you know," he said, reaching out to touch her arm gently. The warmth of his hand sent a bolt of recognition through her, awakening the part of her that yearned for connection. But in that very instant, a sudden doubt washed over her, a shadow creeping back from her past. Could she risk exposing herself, knowing the potential for heartbreak was still looming nearby? Jack opened his mouth to say something more, but the slamming of the diner door made them jump. A group rushed in, their faces drawn, counting off the missing from the neighborhood. Tension buzzed in the air, snatching the moment from them. "Dad's trapped at the old mill," a voice shouted, panic flickering across the faces of the newcomers. "We need to organize a search party." Just like that, Sarah felt the familiar panic rise in her chest. As the weight of community responsibility grabbed hold of her, she understood that every decision she'd face moving forward was no longer just about her. It was about Ethan, about a new life, and possibly about Jack, who now stood by her side with the urgency of the moment taking hold. She turned to Jack, determination igniting within her. "We have to help. What do we do?" His eyes sparkled with a mix of admiration and something deeper. "Together," he replied, his voice steady. "We do this together." But with each step toward the collective unknown, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the choices looming ahead were about to intertwine their lives in ways she hadn't anticipated. As they prepared to venture out into the rising storm of chaos, she had to wonder, could she truly trust Jack? Or would the past unravel everything she fought so hard to rebuild? The tension in the diner had shifted, and with it, the air grew thick with urgency. The chatter faded, replaced by a sense of gravity. Sarah's heart pounded, a tribal drum echoing the anxiety radiating from the other patrons. "We can't waste any time," Jack said, pulling her focus back to him. His voice was sharp, determined. "If he's truly trapped, we need to organize quickly. Every minute counts." Nodding, Sarah scanned the faces around her. People she knew so well were now shadows of themselves, fear marking their features. They were parents, siblings, friends, people who grasped at hope, even in despair. "All right," she spoke clearly, raising her voice to cut through the panic. "Who's with us?" The space stilled as heads turned towards her, a spark igniting in the collective. Shouts of agreement filled the room. Jack stepped closer, his energy contagious. "We'll split into teams. One group heads to the mill. The other can gather supplies just in case." Sarah nodded again, heart racing not just from fear but from something else, an adrenaline that belied her earlier doubts. Her past felt like a dark room she was finally stepping out of as possibilities bloomed before her. Ethan sensed the shift too, hair gently stirred by the breeze of her rising determination. She could not let fear win. "I'll gather blankets and any medical supplies," she said, her voice gathering strength. "We have to be prepared for anything." Jack smiled, and for a moment the chaos dulled. His pride in her felt like sunlight warming her insides. "You take charge of that, and I'll coordinate the teams," he replied, eyes bright with confidence. The diners began to mobilize, moving with a shared sense of purpose. Sarah rushed to the back room, retrieving blankets, flashlights, and anything that could help. She could already hear the sound of footsteps rushing outside as people formed small groups, their faces lit by the urgency of the moment. As she filled a large box, thoughts of Jack flickered through her mind. They were two threads woven together by circumstance, only for the eye of the storm to catch them off guard. But now they were becoming a team bound by choice, not just fate. "Sarah," Jack called from the threshold, interrupting her thoughts. There was a chaotic energy in his eyes. "We need you to help direct everyone outside." Taking a deep breath, she nodded. Aiming for clarity amid the confusion, she stepped back into the diner's sunlight. "All right, listen up," she declared, commanding attention. "We'll head out in groups of 3. Jack's team will assess the mill. Ours will ensure additional support if necessary. Move quickly but stay together." People nodded, determination setting their jaws as they prepared to venture out into the world beyond. As they filed out, Sarah held Ethan closer, weighing the responsibility of her son against the ferocity of her commitment to help. Outside, the air, once stagnant, pulsed with desperation. The sky, now a deepening gray, churned ominously above them. Sarah could feel the weight of all those who had been lost pressing into her chest. Then she looked up, spotting Jack in the crowd. He had already begun to organize, directing people where to go, and she felt a warmth wrap around her. Something inside her began to unravel. She realized that they were both emerging from their pasts, intertwining through the chaos around them. "Sarah," Jack beckoned, glancing back at her with a frown. "You good?" "Yes," she breathed, more for herself than for him. They were out here together, under the threat of the storm and the uncertainty that lingered in the shadows. But as she moved to join him, a distant echo, muffled yet familiar, slithered into her consciousness, a sound that made her heart stop for a beat. It was a call, almost like a whisper. Was it hers? Or was it someone else's heart calling for help? She turned, frozen between action and the fear of what lay ahead, knowing she couldn't ignore the deepening sense that the storm was more than just a physical threat. The past loomed over her, dark and heavy, just as the clouds were starting to consolidate above them. Cherished promises and unshared dreams surfaced like phantoms, and she had to wonder, was she truly ready to face whatever came next, or would the choices ahead pull her under once more? Sarah's heartbeat mingled with the distant clamor of voices as she stepped away from Jack. Each word bounced off the walls of the diner, amplified by the gravity of their situation. The echoes felt like shadows, clinging to her as she drifted toward the source of that haunting sound, the agony weaving through her like a thread of uncertainty. "Mom!" Ethan's call broke her trance, pulling her back. His small hand grasped her arm, grounding her. He looked up, eyes searching hers, seeking reassurance. That warm light she had felt with Jack dulled under the impending storm. She had a choice before her: be present for Ethan or succumb to the nagging call that whispered of deeper truths. "Let South stick close, buddy," she said, forcing a smile. But doubt flickered in her mind. If she moved toward that sound, how far might she drift from her son? The air thickened as they moved together through the crowd, shadows flickering beneath the dim light of the gathering storm. The anxiety of the diners mingled with the growing cold. Each face was a story, each glance a plea for hope. Sarah's heart swelled with the weight of their shared destinies. She felt a duty toward each of them, but as she focused on Ethan, she knew her primary role was to protect him. As they reached the edge of the parking lot, headlights cut through the heavy gray. The teams were forming, people stepping up, each rallying around the idea that they could be the ones to help. A wave of energy surged through her as voices rose, a unified chant that reverberated in her soul. "Together, we can do this." But beneath that fervor, the sound gnawed at her. "You need to listen." It was right there, just out of reach. It pulled at her with every breath she took. "Mom." Ethan's voice was small, pulling her back again. She ruffled his hair, hoping to shake off the weight lingering in the corner of her mind. "Can we help them too?" With a deep breath, she nodded. "Yes, we'll help. Together." It was a promise, a lifeline she wished to hold tightly to. "Sarah." Jack's voice cut through her thoughts. He was beckoning again, urgency coating his words. "I need you over here." The call was innocent enough, but he held an invisible thread that wound through her fears. She steeled herself, putting one foot forward, each step purposeful. As she moved closer, she caught snippets of conversations. Someone talked about equipment needed at the mill. Another spoke of protective gear against the elements. Jack was at the center orchestrating it all, and she felt drawn closer, as if by an unseen force. Everyone. Jack's voice rang out firm. We'll regroup after the mill assessment. We have to prepare for anything. But before Sarah could reply, that whisper rose again, resonating within her chest. It pulled harder now, and just as she turned her head, she met a gaze from the crowd. It wasn't just someone. It was a face she recognized from the past, a face that brought back a flood of memories she thought she'd buried. Sarah. The figure mouthed her name, words drowned out by the murmurs around them. Her skin prickled with recognition, with the weight of history. Do you know them? Ethan asked, his curiosity palpable. Not now, she whispered, torn between the pull of the past and the demands of the present. Just as she was about to respond, thunder rumbled overhead, an angry protest of the storm drawing nearer. Stay close, she instructed Ethan, keeping her eyes trained on the figure that had just appeared. The call of help felt stronger than ever, a plea for connection she couldn't ignore. Was this a chance to uncover long-buried truths? Or would diving into this past put everyone at risk? In that moment Sarah was unsure. And as dusk began to swallow the light, with raindrops starting to fall, she knew they were standing at a precipice. There was no turning back. Whatever lay ahead demanded her attention, and choice loomed heavy. What did this familiar face want? And could she truly face the swirling storm within and without? With the wind picking up speed, she had to decide. Would she seek the answers or shield her son from the past that threatened to erupt? The figure remained, a haunting silhouette against the swirl of bodies. Sarah's heart raced, each pulsation reminding her of the secrets that had been buried deep within her for so long. She turned her back on Jack's call, the urgency in his voice fading into the background. All that mattered now was the stranger standing before her. Who are you? She whispered, her voice barely piercing the noise around them. She felt Ethan tighten his grip on her hand, sensing the tension in her. The figure stepped closer, and as the light from the diner illuminated their face, recognition struck her like a bolt of lightning. It was Anna, her childhood friend, the one who had vanished from Sarah's life years ago. A mix of emotions washed over her: confusion, anger, and an unexpected wave of longing. Sarah, Anna said again, her voice trembling, capturing that same tone they used to share during late-night talks. I need to talk to you. It's important. Now, Sarah replied, glancing at Ethan. The urgency back at the diner felt so distant, yet here was another storm brewing right before her eyes. Please. Anna's eyes glimmered with desperation. I promise you'll understand. As the wind howled through the gaps in the parking lot, Sarah felt the world around her shift. She swayed between fear and curiosity. Was it a coincidence that Anna appeared at this moment? Or was this a sign her past was demanding reckoning? Mom? Ethan squeezed her hand tighter. The innocence in his voice jolted her back. She knelt beside him, reveling in his warmth, his small figure grounding her. Ethan, I need to talk to someone for a minute. Just stay close, okay? He nodded, wide-eyed but trusting. With a last uncertain glance at her son, Sarah pulled Anna aside, seeking refuge under the overhang of the nearby awning while rain began to fall from the brooding clouds. The fresh scent of rain mixed with the anxious energy vibrating through the crowd. What do you want from me, Anna? Sarah pressed, trying to keep her voice steady, aware of every drop hitting the pavement. You left without a word. I didn't have a choice, Anna said, eyes darting around, panic evident. There are things I didn't tell you, things that have to do with us, our families. You need to know the truth before it's too late. Too late for what? Sarah questioned, feeling a knot form in her stomach as the urgent tone in Anna's voice escalated. The past threatened to invade her present, stoking fears she thought she conquered. Before it catches up with you and Ethan. Before you're exposed to something I thought I left behind. You're our history, it's still alive. And it's dangerous. Each word hung in the air, feeling heavy with implications. Sarah could feel the horizon tightening, the storm outside mirroring the turmoil within her. What history? What danger? The rain blurred her vision and the severity of Anna's words sent chills down her spine. Sarah. Jack's voice rang out again, this time sharper. He was moving toward them, his expression a mix of concern and irritation at her distraction. She turned back to Anna, swallowing her confusion. The warmth of the familiar connection twisted into something foreign, something threatening. "We'll talk later," Anna whispered urgently. "Please, be careful." With that, she melted into the crowd, leaving Sarah grappling with bewilderment. "Sarah!" Jack reached her, the rain intensifying around them. "What's going on?" I just needed to," she stumbled, searching for the right words. But all that filled her mind was a whirlwind of doubt and unresolved feelings. Just then a scream pierced through the rain. Panic ignited the thrumming atmosphere, shifting everyone's attention. "Mom!" Ethan cried, tugging her hand insistently. Heart racing, she turned toward the sound, dread pooling in her stomach. Before she could react, the crowd surged toward the source, fueled by fear and urgency. What had just happened? And what did Anna mean by danger? As chaos unfolded around her, Sarah realized she was standing at the intersection of her past and present, two worlds colliding in ways she could never have anticipated. With her heart booming in her chest, she knew the time for decisions was running thin. Would she confront the storm brewing inside her, or protect her son while navigating the tide of tumultuous revelations? Ethan's grip tightened as another shout rang out, sending a wave of fear through Sarah. A quick glance at Jack revealed his face twisted in confusion and concern. The panic around them turned into a blur of bodies pushing forward, desperate to know what had happened. "Stay close," Sarah yelled to Ethan as she pulled him tighter against her side. She needed to keep him safe. The crowd felt alive, a living creature that inhaled and exhaled chaos, and Sarah fought against its pull, her instincts kicking in as they stepped closer. The din of frantic voices grew louder. Sarah's heart pounded harder, buoyed by adrenaline. What was happening? She couldn't shake the sense that this moment was pivotal, like a door to the past creaked open, whispering secrets she wasn't ready to hear through the throng. She spotted a woman on the ground, surrounded by a few people who were shouting for help. The hair stood up on the back of Sarah's neck. She didn't know the woman, but the sheer urgency in the air sent shivers skittering down her spine. This could be more than just an accident. "Mom, I want to go home," cried Ethan, his voice trembling. "Just a minute, honey. We need to wait," Sarah replied, forcing herself to sound calm. But the truth was she felt utterly lost. Jack waded through the crowd toward them, his brow furrowed in worry. "Are you okay?" he asked, scanning Sarah's face for answers that she didn't have. What did Anna want? Before Sarah could respond, another piercing scream punctured the air, and it seemed as if the world held its breath. She froze. In that moment, something flickered in the corner of her eye. Anna, emerging from the shadows of the crowd, her expression was a mixture of fear and determination. Sarah's heart seized. Why was she back? The shadow of their past loomed larger, clawing at the edges of Sarah's mind. "Sarah," Anna shouted, struggling through the throng. "You need to listen to me." "Anna, not now," Sarah begged, frustration bubbling alongside her fear. "There's something happening." I don't care," Anna interrupted, her voice rising above the chaos. "This is exactly what I was warning you about. They won't stop until they make their moves. We have to, Mom." Ethan tugged at her hand again, his small face drawn with worry, pulling her back to the present. "Just a minute, Ethan." She had to maintain focus. But as the rain mixed with the urgency of the crowd, each second felt like a lifetime. A figure pushed into the light, jolting Sarah from her reverie. It was a man tall and imposing, eyes scanning the crowd. Something about his presence sent a chill through her. She didn't know him, but the way he moved was unsettling, as if he held knowledge of things better left hidden. Sarah felt a shift in the atmosphere, an intimate blend of dread and unresolved history swirled around them. She turned to look for Anna, but the crowd had swallowed her whole. "What's happening?" Jack asked, now standing shoulder to shoulder with her, glaring at the stranger. "I don't know," Sarah murmured, feeling the weight of the past pressing down harder every second. "Stay close," Jack commanded, his protective instincts kicking in. She could see how concerned he was, yet all she could think about was the connection Anna claimed still existed between them, something unresolved that now felt like a shadow stalking her family. "How do we get out of here?" Ethan asked, his voice small. "We find a way," Sarah said, grasping his hand tighter. The kaleidoscope of emotions swirled in her head. She felt backed into a corner, an old friend's warning, A stranger bringing trouble, and she couldn't see the path ahead. Just then, she saw Anna re-emerge, desperation etched in her features. She dodged some onlookers trying to reach them. "Sarah, you have to come with me now." Time stood still. Could she trust Anna? What if this was the moment everything changed? "Mom, please." Ethan's voice cut through the haze, adding an urgency she couldn't ignore. But just as she took a step toward Anna, the ground shook, a low rumble that sent vibrations through her bones. Shadows flickered across the ground. "What now?" Jack shouted as he pulled Ethan protectively against him. "Something's coming," Sarah whispered, her heart racing. Was danger really closing in? As she stood there, a storm raging both inside and around her, she knew she had to choose. Would she follow Anna into the storm of their past, or protect Ethan from the unknown? A part of her wondered if the truth she feared was about to be uncovered, whether they were prepared for what lay ahead. Would she finally find peace in the chaos, or would fear continue to bind her? With that thought pulsing in her mind, she took a deep breath. What had Anna brought back with her? What was emerging from the shadows? The tremor grew stronger, as if the ground beneath them were alive. Sarah held her breath, feeling the weight of time stretch, those fleeting moments swelling into a momentous decision. Ethan's grip on her hand was tighter now, nails digging into her palm, grounding her in the chaos swirling around them. The tension in the crowd shifted, a collective instinct pushing everyone to move, to flee. But Sarah didn't want to run. Something within her stirred an ancient pull toward the unresolved. Anna's frantic expression haunted her thoughts. What if whatever was coming carried the answers Sarah had long shunned? "Ethan," she said softly, kneeling to meet his wide, frightened eyes. "I need you to trust me, okay?" He nodded, and she could see the trembling in his lips. The world felt harsh and unforgiving right now, but she couldn't afford to let fear overshadow their moment. "Stay close to me. Do you promise?" "Promise," he whispered, his voice shaky yet sincere. Jack, still scanning the area, faced Sarah, urgency written on his brow. "We can move. We can get out of here." As he spoke, Anna slipped through the bodies once more, her eyes locking onto Sarah's. "Please. It's not safe here." Every word Anna spoke felt like a pull on something deep inside Sarah, stirring feelings she had placed in a box, far from view. "What do you mean?" Sarah shouted over the thundering noise of the crowd. "What's going on?" "That man. He's not just watching, he's waiting. They're coming for you both." "Who?" Jack pressed, instinctively stepping in front of Ethan. The protective energy radiated off him. "The ones who didn't want this to ever happen," Anna replied, desperation edging her voice. "They don't want you to find out." "Not now." The ground shook again, and a part of Sarah felt the jolt go through her, entwining with memories she thought were buried. Echoes of betrayal and loss began to unravel in her mind. She fought to keep her footing, overwhelmed by Anna's warning and propelled by a sudden surge of empowerment. "No," Sarah shouted back, the truth like fire igniting in her. "They don't control me anymore." With that, she turned to face Jack and Ethan. "We need to stick together. We can't let fear dictate our choices. Anna's right, we have to move." She sensed a shift in Jack. Concern melted away to determination. The bond they had forged through uncertainty looked different now, stronger, more vital. Jack reached for Ethan and Sarah, about to guide them away from the chaos, but another surge of noise echoed through them. A sharp crack split the air like thunder, and the figure the man began to push through the crowd like a phantom. His presence was ominous, magnetic, drawing every eye upward as he raised a hand in their direction. "Sarah," he called, his voice deep, reverberating with unspoken promises and terrible truths. A shiver crawled up Sarah's spine. Did he know her? "Who are you?" she yelled, her heart pounding against her ribs. "Someone who has waited too long," he replied smoothly, his gaze piercing through the sea of bodies. "You need to understand, I'm here to help you, but you have to choose now." "Help?" The word hung heavy in the air. The sincerity in his voice brought both trepidation and intrigue. Could she trust him? "Run!" Anna screamed, breaking through Sarah's thoughts. "He's not here to help. Go." Jack pulled Ethan away, never losing sight of Sarah. But Sarah stood motionless, locked in consideration, caught between fear and the slippery tendrils of truth. Suddenly the ground trembled once more, coupled with the sound of chaos escalating. The scene around her began to blur, wrapped in the uncertainty of choices, destiny, and dark secrets waiting just out of reach. She needed to decide. Would she escape the past or confront it head-on? As Sarah took a step forward toward the looming figure, her heart raced with stark clarity. And then, "Ethan, stay back," Jack shouted as the man lunged forward, and everything shattered into chaos. What had she gotten herself into? Would the truth reveal salvation or destruction? In that turbulent moment, Sarah knew they had to face whatever was coming, not just for themselves, but for the future she was desperately trying to build. But as danger lurked closer, a grim thought flickered in the depths of her mind. What if her past wasn't ready to let her go? What if it cost her everything she loved? The man surged forward and chaos erupted. The crowd became a whirlwind of screams, pushing, and panic. Sarah felt Jack's grip tighten on her arm, but her eyes were focused on the figure before her, drawn in by his intensity. "Ethan, back!" Jack shouted again, pulling the boy close to shield him. But Sarah didn't budge, locked in place, her heart racing as the man's dark gaze firmly met hers. "Your answers lie with me," he said, sincerity threading through his voice despite the chaos around them. The tremor beneath their feet felt like a heartbeat, strong and relentless. "You cannot run from the truth." Sarah felt the heat rise in her chest. She had spent so long avoiding the truth, burying memories beneath layers of denial. But in that moment, she realized that the truth might hold the very power to free her and protect her loved ones. "What truth?" she called out amidst the din, desperate and resolute. He took another step, a passageway forming around him through the crowd, like he had a gravitational pull. "The one that connects your past to your future," he replied. "You have no idea of the stakes, Sarah. They need you to stay blind." Jack stepped in front of her, shielding her even more as he looked back at the man. "We don't want your help. Whatever it is, just leave us alone. But it's not about what you want. It has to do with what you need to understand." The man's voice was unwavering, pressing into the distance between them. Sarah could feel the heat radiating off him, not just from his body but from the energy of truths yet unveiled. "Then tell me." Sarah's voice rose above the noise, cool air against the raging storm within her. "Tell me everything." The man hesitated, and for a split second, she saw a flicker of something in his eyes: regret? Sorrow? Before he began again. "You're part of something bigger, something woven into history. They're coming for you because of what you carry with you." She swallowed hard, trying to digest his words. Her breath quickened, confusion washing over her. "What do you mean?" But before he could respond, the ground trembled violently, shaking Sarah's core, sending her stumbling back. Jack caught her, eyes wide and frantic. "Get down!" he half-shouted, pulling Ethan close, shielding them both as the crowd erupted into deeper panic. Sarah felt a primal instinct surfacing, a gut feeling that maybe, just maybe, this was the moment she had been waiting for. Could this really be the catalyst for her freedom? "Anna!" she yelled, frantically searching for her friend amidst the chaos. "Where are you?" "Sarah!" In that moment of sheer madness, Anna reappeared, her eyes wild. "We have to go now." "No," Sarah insisted, shaking her head frantically. She could feel the man's piercing gaze on her, compelling her. "Not yet. Not until I understand." "Hurry." Anna grabbed Sarah's arm, desperate. "If we don't move, they'll find us. They're closer than you think." Sarah hesitated, torn between two worlds: the pull of the familiar safety of flight, and the daunting thrill of understanding her hidden truth. Would running away truly protect them? "I can't leave it like this," she finally whispered, barely audible over the roar. "What will happen if you don't?" Anna shouted back. "What are you willing to risk?" The man's presence seemed to loom, a promise cloaked in danger. The chaos blurring around them felt like a storm. Yet there was a strange calmness in his gaze that told her this moment, this crossroads, was about more than just fear. "Stay with me," he said softly, as if sensing her turmoil. And in that moment of quiet urgency, Sarah made a choice. She stepped towards him, feeling a strange tether to his confidence. It was a risk that sent her heart pounding. But wasn't that the only way to face the future? "Fine," she said, voice lowering to a resolve. "But I want answers now." As she reached for the man, a flash of determination ignited. She was ready to face the storm, whatever that might mean. But the ground trembled again, more violently this time, and as the crowd's fear crescendoed into a frantic scream, Sarah felt the world spinning out of control. What was waiting for her on the other side? In that charged moment, pulling them all toward an uncertain fate, she understood what she feared most was about to confront her. Would she grasp the truth she sought? Or would it pull her deeper into the abyss? The instant Sarah reached out, the ground shook with more fury than before, plummeting her into a wave of uncertainty. Jack's grip faltered as the chaos enveloped them like a thick fog, the panic-stricken crowd tumbling around their small oasis of calm. She risked a glance at him, his eyes wide in disbelief, and she gathered her resolve. "Trust me," she murmured, shifting her focus back to the man whose magnetic presence beckoned her closer, like a moth to a flame. "Don't do this," Jack hollered, and tension knotted in Sarah's stomach. She could feel his heart racing, could almost hear the desperate thump echoing through her own. But she had to know. They had to know. "Tell me the truth," Sarah shouted back at the man, her voice straining above the chaos. The man's expression softened, and she sensed a flicker of understanding pass between them, a connection born of urgency. "What do you mean by they're coming for me?" "They need to keep you in the dark," he replied swiftly, as if he feared losing her to the storm brewing around them. "They fear what you could become." With every word, unseen memories flashed in Sarah's mind, fragmented images of her childhood, a sense of loss lingering in her heart. Had she once been connected to something greater than her everyday life? History? She breathed, but the ground shifted again, and the whisper of destiny felt more like a roar. Ethan whimpered, tugging at Jack's shirt, and Jack's eyes flickered between the man and Sarah, panic mingled with fierce protection. "We have to go, Sarah. It's not safe here." But even in the whirlwind, Sarah felt that this moment held the answers she'd sought her entire life. "What do they want from me? Why me?" Suddenly, the man's face lit up with determination. "Your lineage, your mother. She was part of something powerful, and they want to erase that legacy. They think if they silence you now, it all ends. But you're stronger than they realize." Her breath caught, memories rising like ghosts. Her mother's soft laughter, the old stories woven through bedtime tales. Could it all have meant more? The tremors beneath her feet shifted from fear to something else, possibility. "I can't let them erase us," she said, a newfound sense of conviction fortifying her spine. "Then stand with me." The man extended his hand, a gesture of both invitation and challenge. Faces in the crowd echoed her swirling confusion, their fear feeding into the chaos. Anna's grip tightened on Sarah's arm, desperation etched into her features. "Let us leave. We're not ready for whatever this is." "No." Sarah fought back against the instinct to flee. The pull of the unknown overshadowed the familiar fears that had held her back for so long. "We can't keep running. Not anymore." The man stood firm, unwavering, a lighthouse amidst an angry sea. "You're ready, Sarah. Embrace this moment and they won't have a chance." Suddenly a loud crash echoed, drowning out their voices. A barrage of debris rained down, sending the crowd into a frenzy, but the world around her turned hazy, everything sharpening to focus on the man before her. "Will you stand by me?" His question reverberated through her chest, igniting an internal war between flight and fight. "Together?" she whispered, her heart throbbing with uncertainty and hope. "Yes, you're not alone." In that heartbeat, Sarah felt the boundaries of her fear dissolve. She took a step toward him, ready to confront the truth she'd buried for far too long. The ground trembled again, but this time it felt different, as if the earth recognized her choice. But as she reached for him, a piercing scream cut the tension. A figure loomed at the edge of the crowd, dark eyes like pools of chaos staring right at her. "Run!" Jack shouted, breaking through the thick tension. Would she turn back to safety, or dive headfirst into the tempest of her fate? Would she choose love, understanding, and the promise of a legacy, or would fear chain her to the past? In those frantic moments of decision, Sarah knew nothing would be the same again. With all her emotions tangling together, Sarah felt the weight of the world in that moment. Danger threatened to swallow her whole, but she had something to fight for now, a chance to uncover her past, to stand not just for herself but for Ethan and everyone she loved. She could feel Jack's tight grip on her arm, his panic clear as day, But the man's unwavering gaze called to her like a lighthouse in a stormy sea. "Sarah." Jack's voice anchored her back, urgent and laden with worry. "We can't," but her heart was already racing with determination. She took a deep breath and faced the man fully. "Tell me what I need to do. I won't run anymore." The crowd roared with uncertainty around them, but she felt surprisingly calm. It was as if she had sifted through years of pain and fear, and in that moment clarity emerged. "Then be ready to embrace who you are," the man urged, stepping closer, his hand still extended. "They have watched you for too long. It's time to reclaim your legacy." With Jack's concern and Ethan's innocent gaze weighing heavily on her, Sarah knew she wouldn't be alone. "I have to protect my son. I have to protect my family," she said, stepping just out of Jack's reach. But she didn't falter in her resolve. "And I have to do this for us." For a shaky second, doubts flickered across Jack's face. Then determination replaced it. "All right, but we're in this together." His solidarity offered her a flood of warmth, giving her the courage she needed. "Together," she echoed, feeling for the first time how the three of them, Sarah, Jack, and Ethan, could exist within this rising storm. They were a family, one tightly woven by the very bonds of their struggles. Suddenly there was no more hesitation. The man before her seemed to pulse with an energy that felt unstoppable. "The truth will set you free," he stated, drawing Sarah's unwavering focus. "And the choice you make today could determine the course of history." "What do you mean?" she asked, taking a step closer as the crowd shifted around them, their anxiety palpable. "There are forces that want to silence you. But you're stronger than you know," he replied, conviction resonating within his firm tone. "Together we can disrupt the cycle of their control. We can reclaim what's been lost." The ground trembled beneath them, though Sarah felt a strength surge through her instead of fear this time. She grasped Jack's hand tightly. This was her moment. She wanted nothing more than to rewrite the narrative, to rise from the ashes of her past. Just then, lightning forked across the sky, illuminating the chaos swirling around them. "Are you ready?" he asked, and she felt the pull of destiny igniting within her core as she nodded. Before she could lose her nerve, Sarah took a deep breath and stepped forward, reaching out to grasp the man's hand. Jack pulled Ethan close, tightening his grip as they formed a united front against the encroaching storm, and that moment, a surge of energy flowed through them, a radiant light cut through the tension, illuminating their path. The man smiled, his expression softening with approval. "This is where the story begins, Sarah." Behind them, the crowd hesitated, and a feeling of collective energy began to build. The resonance of their solidarity pressed against the chaos, transforming fear into resolve. Suddenly, the shadows that loomed in the periphery retreated, and Sarah heard voices rising, echoing the power and strength they shared. The storm became a tapestry of possibilities, swirling around their chosen destiny. As they stood there, Sarah realized she was no longer just a victim of her past. She was the architect of her future. The journey ahead remained unknown, but she would face it side by side with the love and courage that surrounded her. Time seemed to stand still, and in the anticipation of what was yet to come, she caught a glimpse of hope. It was more than just about surviving. It was about thriving, taking ownership of the life she'd fought so hard to reclaim. The storm raged on, but together they would rise above it with an invigorating cry of determination. Sarah looked at Jack and Ethan and said, "Let us finish what we started." And for the first time, she felt lightness sweep over her, the promise of love and family ushering her into the brave new world she was about to embrace. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and show love for the journey. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending. Your engagement means everything.